Commended the school in Mullingar, Wilson's Hospital School, and I was just wondering, did you have anything to say about the young man who's in prison?
Anything to say about Enoch Burke, Mr. Harris? Anything to say about Mr. Burke? Simon, anything to say about the teacher in prison for not agreeing with transgenderism? Simon,
I was wondering if you have anything to say about Enoch Burke.
Enoch Burke, Helen, anything to say about
Out. Private property, private party. I'm being pushed out, so I'm not being allowed.
It's a private event. For justice.
Out of my way, please. Out of my way, you're in my way, my cat. Thank you. Hello, how are you?
Anything to say about
Get in my hand, thank you so much.
Enoch Burke in prison for not accepting transgenderism?
Yeah.
Anything to say? Nothing to say.
Running away. This is the Taoiseach running away.
I'm not on the way, you're in my way.
There's not many people waiting to see you.
Does the Minister for Justice have anything to say about a man in prison for not agreeing with transgenderism?
Simon, you have to walk up. There's nothing to say. I don't think people are too interested. My son is in prison for the last year. I'd just like to know what you have you anything to say?
Hello, how are you?
Enoch Burke.
Very nice to see you, how are you?
The Taoiseach of our country running away. He won't tell me what he thinks about Enoch Burke. Yes.
Does the Minister for Justice have anything to say about Enoch Burke? She's running away as well.
How dare you hit my phone? How dare you hit my phone? Maria Walsh just hit my phone. She's trying to shake it out of my hands.
Anything to say, Helen, about Enoch Burke in prison for not accepting transgenderism? Running away, silent.
Just be careful the car behind you there.
Nothing to say. You've come to Castlebar, a teacher from Castlebar in prison for not accepting transgenderism, and nothing to say. Running away.
Fantastic candidates right throughout the country. So vote Fine Gael on June 7th. Thank you very much.
Nothing to say. Head down. Nothing to say.
Here to support my colleagues for your walls. We have
What about Enoch
fantastic
Burke?
candidates right
Minister
throughout
for
the
Justice,
country
what
that
about
believe
Enoch
in
Burke?
multiple issues.
What about Enoch Burke?
He's running away today. Say that
Oh, she's getting into her car now. She's going to run away. She's not going to speak to the people. She's not going to speak to the people. She's not going to speak to the people of Castlebar. She's here in her BMW. Nothing to say.
This is her now running away.
Are you happy now?
Now, she's running away, look. Drive off now. Drive off now. That's her now. As fast as she can go. Running away from one simple question. What do you have to say about Enoch Burke?
Here in Castlebar, we feel the need to highlight a few of the issues that have been spoken of in the media in the past few days regarding the Burke family and the situation with Fine Gael, and in particular Taoiseach Simon Harris and Minister McEntee. They visited County Mayo on Sunday. They visited Charlestown and Swinford. While in Swinford, my daughter was there. She was present. She asked to speak with him, and he obliged. But she did remark on the fact that he had sent a video to Wilson's Hospital School commending them. This was the end of term. I don't know if he sent a video to any other school in the country, and we were absolutely startled to see this, commending their principal, Frank Milling, and teacher, Mr. Lee, as far as I know, who is a promoter of transgender and LGBT activism in the school. Now, we were absolutely shocked about this, that he would particularize that school. He would single it out and send a special word of thank you and commendation to Frank Milling. Now, Frank Milling, as far as I'm concerned, is a bully boy. He has bullied my son and abused him as he stood at the school door. Yes. And yet, Taoiseach Simon Harris singled him out and commended him. Now, the situation with Wilson's Hospital School is that Niamh McShane told my son that it was expected of him. She demanded that he endorse transgender activism in the school. This is something he could not do, and he doesn't need to do that. He has religious rights. He has a right to have and to profess and to practice his religion, and that's against his religious beliefs. So he just doesn't do that. That is the beginning and the end of the saga around Enoch Burke. Niamh McShane, principal of Wilson's Hospital School, had absolutely no right to do what she did. And this has ended up with Enoch Burke, my son, being in Mountjoy prison now, with murderers, sexual abusers, drug barons. His crime is that he will not endorse transgender ideology. That's why he's there. He has religious rights and he has a right to say no. That's what he did. So my daughter asked Simon Harris, had he anything to say about Enoch Burke? And of course Simon turns on his heel and runs. So that was the beginning of what happened on Sunday in County Mayo. Now, as far as we know, we weren't there. Simon Harris then moved on to Castlebar, and they met in Cup of Joe's, himself and his team, Fine Gaelers, and they had a private party in Cup of Joe's, attended, as far as I know, only by Fine Gaelers.
Members of the public were blocked.
Members of the public were blocked. Yes, there was a sign on the door saying private party. My daughter managed to enter in again, simply to ask himself and Minister McEntee, had they anything to say about Enoch Burke, a young man, an excellent, sincere, upright, highly intelligent young teacher who is imprisoned because his rights have been taken from him. Here we are speaking to the Minister for Justice, Helen McEntee, on a salary of over 220,000 per annum, and Simon Harris, the Taoiseach, probably on a salary of 240, 250,000, 5 times the average wage
before expenses
in this country, before expenses. She was pushed out the door by, as far as I know, Alan Dillon's sister-in-law, and told to get out of the place. So you weren't welcome in that restaurant unless you were a supporter of Fine Gael. Now, this is very sad what's happening, and that, you know, we're getting a totally wrong story here from the media, from the papers, from the local radios. We're hearing about harassment and violence and jostling. What happened in Castlebar last Sunday was that my family wanted to ask Taoiseach Simon Harris, Minister McEntee, a simple question. She's the Minister for Justice. Had she anything to say about Enoch Burke, whose rights, whose religious rights have been taken from him? On a salary 5 times the average wage. She walks into Castlebar. As far as I know, the streets are empty. There's nobody around, only Fine Gaelers. They have the RTE cameras are ready at the pikes in the square in Castlebar for a press conference. So it's all set up. They're really speaking to nobody. They're talking to nobody. This is this very sad situation we're in, that we're hearing lies. We're hearing of a protest. There was no protest. My family, my husband and my daughter and son wanted to simply ask them a question. What have they to say about Enoch Burke? They're threatening a Garda investigation about what happened at the weekend in Castlebar. I would say bring it on. Send the guards to our house, because we didn't do anything wrong. Send the guards, Simon. If you're listening to this video, send the guards. Have that investigation, because there was no violence from the Burke family. As far as I know, there was violence from a Fine Gael councillor who pushed my daughter. Who pushed my daughter, who grabbed her phone and flung it on the ground.
I might just clarify that. So, as you've said, we're hearing about a Garda investigation into what happened on Sunday. And what we did see on Sunday was, number one, Maria Walsh, MEP, attempt to snatch a phone from somebody's hand. We saw, and almost knocking it out of her hand. We saw my dad, Sean Burke, being assaulted by a Fine Gael team member. We saw another situation where my sister's phone was almost wrenched. It was indeed wrenched out of her hand by a Fine Gael councillor and smashed to the ground, to the Westport, by a Fine Gael councillor. Very, very prepared to share that information should the need arise. But if there is an investigation, there's plenty to talk about.
Now, the situation in the country is out of control with crime. We know that. Murder has doubled, as far as I know, in the past year. Theft crime is the highest in the history of the state.
Swinford, in Swinford, County Mayo, where Simon Harris visited, the crime level there is the highest now that it's been in 10 years. So that's the situation that we're in.
And McEntee wants to walk into these towns and villages and smile and get her picture taken, do her press conference, and expect us to ask no questions. Now, as far as I can see, the harassment is the question. You're not supposed to ask any questions, but we will ask questions.
Absolutely.
We have a right to ask questions. These are people who are on huge salaries.
Absolutely.
She is the Minister for Justice. Every citizen has a right to be on that street and to ask her questions. We're getting to a place in this country where you're made out to be a criminal.
Absolutely.
You're made out to be a criminal if you ask these people a question, but we will ask questions. I did ask Alan Dillon a question at Christmas as he was walking into Tesco.
Yes.
I just asked him a question on his views on Moira Whelan, who was put into the appointed to the Court of Appeal. She shouldn't be there. She broke every rule in the book. She was put in by Fine Gael. Micheál Martin said that it was outrageous. It stinks, he said to high heaven. He was going to press the nuclear button, but he didn't press any button. That's Micheál. She's still there, a promoter of transgender ideology, working for the Fine Gael party. Has Simon Harris anything to say on that? See, the problem is Simon doesn't believe we have rights.
No.
And Simon's passion now is to bring in the hate speech bill.
Yes.
And I'm sad, and it's disturbing to see we have so many candidates going up, European and the local elections, and very little has been said about the hate speech bill.
I don't think a word has been said, almost.
Very disappointing, I must say. This is Simon's passion. He is going to push forward that hate speech bill, that radical bill that has shocked the world. And not a word from our politicians. Shame upon them. And you know, it's to silence those, especially those with religious beliefs. He wants to silence them. That's why he's running from the Burkes. Because my son is in prison, he's in Mountjoy, because he has a religious belief and he's refusing to surrender it to transgender ideology. As simple as that. And the courts, the executive, the guards, the whole lot of them working together. He's standing against that. He's standing up for his rights. And Simon wants to take those rights from us. This is very serious. Himself and the Green Party, Catherine Martin, Pauline O'Reilly. God help us. This woman should not be near government buildings, never mind the European Parliament. This woman, these Green Party, they have destroyed the farmers. No wonder the 50% of the farmers are depressed. High suicidal rates. The re-wetting of the lands. The culling of 200,000 cattle. Where is this going to end? Pauline wants to get to Europe. She worships nature. She's a worshipper of the earth. The Green Party have no time for the true God. They worship the earth. You know, she's going over there. She wants to serve nature. She wants to serve the earth. This is why the farmers are depressed, because there's no end to this. Get the Greens out of government. They need to be shown the door. You know, God is well able to look after the planet. He's well able. Seed time and harvest, summer and winter, cold and heat, night and day, forever shall be. God is able to preserve the earth. He doesn't need Pauline O'Reilly to protect it and lift it up. She's destroyed our country and the likes of her. They should be gone. Wipe out the Greens. But Simon Harris is a dangerous man. Simon Harris is a liar. He is a liar. And he has come into Castlebar and he said that we protested. We weren't protesting. He said that we hassled, that we harassed, that we jostled. My husband ran after him because all he did was come into Castlebar and he ran through the town and he threw his hand here and there at different people. Most of them didn't know what was going on. This is nonsense. This is not meeting the people. This is a new kind of politics. And it's an absurd, it's a fake. He's a spin doctor. That's what he is. It's for the cameras. And shame upon it. Bring on the guards, Simon. Bring them on, because we have rights and you won't take them from us.
Simon,
and we need to vote these people out. Show them the door. Simon Harris, the Green Party, show them the door. And Minister McEntee needs to go. She needs to go. We don't have a minister for justice.
It's a shame. It's an embarrassment.
It's an embarrassment. We don't have a minister. It's just an embarrassment. It's up to the people. It's up to the people. And whoever is elected, you know, because I don't have faith, I don't see much out there. You need to make them accountable, whoever they are.
All of this is about bullying ordinary people into silence. And that's what we've seen over this weekend. Some people ask Simon Harris a question. They ask Helen McEntee questions. And it's always interesting, the response, whenever there's disquiet, whenever there's anger, or whenever there's concern among the public, the response from these people is always the same. It's not to say, I wonder why people are angry. I wonder why our voters don't want us anymore. The answer is more guards. The answer is to threaten.
Suppression.
The answer is to threaten you. And that's what we've had now.
It's the bruise of the law.
Simon Harris
suppression.
is not listening to you. Simon Harris is calling up the guards. And right now, as I speak, the guards, I think it's in Castlebar or Westport, I'm not even very sure, are engaged in a ludicrous operation. They're supposed to be investigating the circumstances of what happened. Simon Harris doesn't give, he couldn't care less about crime in this country. He has sent the guards in Castlebar to start investigating a non-incident. An incident, I would say an incident of democracy. They're investigating democracy when someone asks Simon Harris a question. I'd like to just briefly, as we close, address something Simon Harris said about my dad, Sean Burke. He said he clearly didn't understand how the Constitution worked, addressing the question about Enoch Burke, who's in prison now for over a year. He said, we live in a country where the court and the government are separate, and people need to abide by the rules of the court. This is breathtaking. And I'd like to just remind you, when Simon Harris speaks about how important it is that the court and the government are separate, I'd like to remind you about the appointment of Moira Whelan, even as we wrap up here this evening. Moira Whelan, a corrupt appointment. Moira Whelan, a national scandal. She was appointed to the post. Yes. 3 High Court judges were overlooked. Moira Whelan sat in the same room at the cabinet table while her appointment was being discussed.
It's scandalous.
And guess who else was in the cabinet room at the time? Simon Harris. And he sat there while separation of powers was dealt a body blow in this country. And now we have a situation where the judiciary is entirely not independent. They're hand in hand with the government. They're implementing government policy. Enoch Burke is an example of that. He sat before Moira Whelan, he appealed for justice, and she put him behind bars. Simon Harris has presided over the demolition of separation of powers in this country. And
democracy.
Please remember that when he talks about the importance of the courts and the government being separate. And I would also just point out that he talks about the fact that he can't talk about Wilson's Hospital School. He just can't address that issue. And a few days ago, he spoke to Wilson's Hospital School. He sent a video to that school. He's very well able to talk about it when he wants to. So that's the situation we face in this country. I would just encourage you not to be bullied into silence. Stand up, question your representatives, engage in democracy, and send Simon Harris a message this weekend that we reject him and we reject his ideology, and we stand up for the right of people to question their representatives and to engage in democracy in a full way.
I'm sorry to have to go into the sentence of this matter, but I am the mother of Enoch Burke. She is in prison in Mountjoy, and I am here to ask for answers.
We need answers.
Enoch Burke. This is Enoch Burke. He is in prison. He's in Mountjoy prison for opposing the ethos of the Church of Ireland School.
Yes, we need answers.
The ethos of the Church of Ireland School. We want answers. Archbishop Dewell, we want answers. He's in prison because he upheld. Yes, he's in prison because he upheld
we need answers.
the ethos of the Church of Ireland School.
Please, we need answers. Why is the church
Dewell,
silent?
we need answers. Nothing to say.
Why is the Church of Ireland silent?
Obviously, you don't agree with the ethos. Be truthful.
He upheld
Be
the ethos
truthful.
of the school.
Jesus said, I am the truth. Obviously, you don't agree with the ethos, man and woman, of the Church of Ireland School.
We need
The
answers.
Lord Jesus Christ said that God made them from the beginning, male and female. Archbishop McDougall, nothing to say. And a young man in prison because he upheld the ethos of the Church of Ireland School. Wilson's Hospital.
We need
No
answers.
violence.
Go away.
No violence.
Go away. Go
No
away.
violence.
It's a perfect
No
civil
violence.
meeting here. The Church of
No
Ireland.
violence.
Out. There's the
No
door.
violence.
Get out of it.
There's
I
a young
don't
man in
interest.
prison. There's a young man
His
in
own
prison.
bloody
Burke in
fault.
prison.
There's a young
Go
man
on.
in
Tour
prison.
today. How dare you? 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 Please, please, we're not being violent. This is a peaceful. This is peaceful. Give me the phone.
How dare you? This is assault. How dare you? How dare you? Her glasses.
Please, please, please,
Just go.
just go, just go.
Do you mean we get out here?
Such violence,
Do you mean about this
shocking,
violence?
shocking violence at the Church of Ireland Synod. So we're just here at the moment at the Armagh City Hotel in Armagh, and we're at the Church of Ireland Synod. It's happening over this weekend, and we attended the Synod. We walked in. We sought to get answers as to why Enoch Burke is still in prison, as to why the Church of Ireland is silent on this important issue, as to why the ethos of the Church of Ireland is male and female, and yet Wilson's Hospital School suspended Enoch Burke for upholding that ethos. And Bishop Pat Story, who has a duty to uphold the Church of Ireland ethos, has presided over Enoch Burke's imprisonment. And we sought to raise that today at the Synod. We had a shocking and unprecedented experience. There was assault, there was anger, the poster was torn. My sister was assaulted with footage that you've probably seen already, and really we're just we can't really believe almost what happened here today.
Oh, it's a very shocking
And-
experience, absolutely
Yeah.
shocking, very traumatic. We went in there, Archbishop John McDougall hasn't spoken. Bishop Pat Story hasn't spoken, even though she's been written to twice by Enoch himself before this happened. He's gone to visit her. We've tried to get in touch on numerous occasions, nothing to say. When you put the question to him, do you believe in the ethos of the school, Archbishop? He stares at you and sullenly refuses to speak. And the same goes for Pat Story. And this is not good enough.
No.
We would ask them to play the man, tell the truth. Do you agree with it or not? And if you don't agree with it, come out and say so and change it. It's unfair to the families who are sending their children into Wilson's Hospital School and probably every other Church of Ireland school at this stage. And this is what's happening there. The poster says it all, but it has been shocking. It has been very, very traumatic, with posters ripped up and assault, men having to be held back. Very, very, very strange and unchristian experiences there today.
Emma, do you have anything to say about Enoch Burke? Nothing to say, Emma Pengelly?
Transgender ideology. No parent wants that for their child. God is not mocked. God is not mocked. As you enter in there, God hates hypocrisy. I don't
Anything to say about the incarceration of Enoch Burke? Anything to say?
Was taken to prison where he is today. 377 days in Mountjoy prison. And we're here today because Enoch Burke upheld the ethos of the Church of Ireland, male and female. When we draw attention to the ethos of the Church of Ireland, we have the police called. What a sad day, what a disgraceful.
Anything to say about the incarceration of Enoch Burke in Mountjoy prison?
I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of it particularly.
You're not aware?
I've been away in Camino, so apologies. I've been.
Well, it's been ongoing for 2 years now, and you're not aware. The whole country is aware.
Very, very sad when you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 police cars called. Very sad that instead of putting it right, instead of Archbishop MacDowell putting it right, instead of all these religious leaders putting it right, getting this young, good, sincere, upright young man, Christian man out of prison and putting him back in his job, they called the police. And it's very sad to see Emma Pengelly seemingly unconcerned here today. That does concern me, that you can walk in here and not be concerned. And every other politician, it's just not acceptable, whether they're Alliance, Sinn Féin, SDLP, DUP, that's not the way it should be. No. That the politicians go in with silly smiles on their faces. It's just not acceptable. I would say to the Church of Ireland today, you should be ashamed of yourself, because you're not agreeing with God. You are not agreeing. You're flying in the face of God. It's very hypocritical to be going in here as if God is smiling on you when you're flying in the face of God.
You see here behind me, Wilson's Hospital School, Mr. Milling, the principal, flying the flag, flying the transgender flag outside a school that has an ethos of male and female.
Even Christian values? Christian truth? No.
Do you know my politics? Oh yes, you're green, but what about also respecting Christian belief?
I respect all beliefs.
Is it the earth you worship on you?
You worship the earth. We all need to be vegans. No respect for Christian belief.
I wonder, could we have a little less of hypocrisy, Dean, this morning? And could we have something to say about Enoch Burke?
Anything to say?
Would Enoch Burke be able to be addressed this morning in Belfast? Do we think the cloaks are going to get us through? Or will we have something to say about Enoch Burke, a man who has spent 377 days in Mountjoy prison, not because he's a criminal, but because he upheld the ethos of your church this morning, a man who upheld the Christian teaching that you profess to believe. How sad this morning that we have hypocrisy from the Church of Ireland. How sad this morning that there's hypocrisy from the Church of Ireland. What a sad state we're in this morning in Northern Ireland, and indeed across this island, as we see the Church of Ireland engaged in gross hypocrisy.
Seen there some video footage from Belfast, St. Anne's Cathedral. There was an event happening there in Belfast, the 120th anniversary of St. Anne's Cathedral. Lots and lots of clergy from the Church of Ireland. We had in particular the Archbishop John McDowell present. I believe he was preaching or giving a talk. There was a lot of talk about lots of chairs that had been purchased for the occasion, and they were blessing the chairs. But you know, we brought a much more important issue to the Church of Ireland, which is the ongoing incarceration of Enoch Burke, who is in prison now for almost 400 days. And as you know, and as everyone knows now, the answer to this problem would be if the Church of Ireland did what it should do, if it was true to its ethos, its Christian ethos, male and female, it remains unchanged. But the problem is, of course, that Enoch Burke was working in Wilson's Hospital School. He upheld the ethos, and he was incarcerated, and he's lying today in a prison cell in Mountjoy.
He couldn't affirm transgender ideology, as he was commanded to by the principal of that school, Niamh McShane. He contacted the Bishop, Pat Story, who is there, the patron of the school, to uphold the ethos, to help him, to stand with him.
Yeah.
That's her duty. But the Bishop Pat's story has remained silent to this day. And also we've contacted the Archbishop again and again, John McDougall, and he also is silent. No words will proceed out of their mouths when it comes to Enoch Burke, because Enoch Burke is standing for the ethos of the school, which exalts God's way.
Yes.
Man and woman, male and female, created he them. So we can come to no other conclusion, but they just don't agree with it at all.
Now, there was a separate case this week, just this Wednesday past in Dublin. A guard by the name of Holly Lane was sent to prison. Now, this guard had been initially charged because she was charged with theft of cannabis evidence. She was out of her mind, drunk, on duty in Garda station.
Banging into walls.
Yes, one of the witnesses said she was banging into walls. Now, this is the guards.
On duty, yeah.
This isn't any person. This is on Garda Síochána. And it was later revealed that she had sent messages to, I believe, a woman that she was in a relationship with, saying that, you know, great, we've got the drugs. So this guard pled not guilty initially. She was sentenced to 9 months, and she appealed to the circuit court, and that's what we heard this week. Members of my family were in court for a separate reason. They heard this case, this appeal.
There were no media in the room.
No. Now, the judge this week reduced the sentence to 3 months. Only 3 months for this. And
she pled guilty.
She pled guilty this time.
She changed her mind. Obviously, she had lied initially, and sadly to say, we're well aware of the guards telling lies under oath. So that has been the story of our family. They have lied under oath about us, and that is where we're at as a family. We can go into court, they can slander us, tell lies, they can take up the Bible, and they can swear lies. What was amazing was the treatment, the way that the judge dealt with her. Contrary to the way he deals with Enoch Burke, and the abuse that's hurled at Enoch, and the threats that we'll be removed from the room if we open our mouths.
Yeah.
But she was dealt with very leniently.
The judge dealt very leniently with her, and really the reason we're bringing this to you tonight is that a guard who's found drunk, who has stolen drugs from a guard station, banging against walls, is given 3 months. And
very sad,
and the leniency.
Very sad when you consider that Ireland has the highest rate of drug-related deaths in Europe. It's a sad city. I've been in Dublin a lot recently. It's a sad city. It's heartbreaking to see young people in their 20s looking like old men and women. It's sad, heartbreaking to see them staggering around the place out of their minds on drugs. This is absolutely heartbreaking. And to see the way that judge dealt with that guard,
he said to her that he said that you still have your best to give to society. He said you are not defined by this crime. This was like a loving mother to her child.
Absolutely,
really.
yes.
And this is what is so stark about this. That on one hand you have Enoch Burke, the treatment of him and his family, and then you have a criminal, a guard who has broken every bit of her oath, drunk in the station,
staggering around the place,
brought disgrace on her profession.
Absolutely,
is treated with this extraordinary leniency. We had also finally the situation in Swinford this week, as you've seen. My sister arrested, charged, convicted in a kangaroo court in Ballina afterwards. And we have the situation there with the guard as well. And just to highlight that, Garda Porrick O'Connor, you'd have seen in that video, and if you haven't, it's available on Enoch Burke's X profile, the circumstances of her arrest. And of course what we see is Garda Porrick O'Connor, who is a footballer in Mayo. What he's doing is he's working for Patrick O'Connor, the coroner.
Instructions from him.
He's taking instructions from him. He's walking along, he's being told what to do. That whole situation is a scandal, it's a disgrace. There's more to be said on it, more will be said on it.
It's not being covered by the media, local or national. It's not being covered.
The local media have been silenced. Midwest Radio, Midwest Radio, the Connacht Telegraph, the Mayo News,
Western People,
the Western People.
CRC
These
FM,
organisations have refused to say a word about this. Now, we do have the Daily Mail, covered it extensively. There were one or two national outlets that did cover this story, and that may be why one of the reasons why you've heard about it. The local media are not covering it, and they're not covering it because they're protecting Patrick O'Connor, and they're protecting the guards in Mayo, because anyone who sees that video and sees what happens is shocked and appalled at the state that our country has come
and
to.
Judge Dean working with Pat O'Connor.
Yeah, Judge Vincent Dean. These men know each other. They're close acquaintances.
Yeah.
Both of them sat on the I think the Mayo Solicitors Bar Association
For years.
Vincent Dean, the judge, said that he didn't know where Patrick O'Connor's office is.
He can tell
And
lies.
I can say today, Vincent Dean, you are a liar.
Absolute liar.
And only someone who's not well would believe that you don't know where Patrick O'Connor's office is. So listen, that's the situation. We wanted to give you this update today. Encourage you, especially after you've seen that video from Belfast, to call upon the Church of Ireland to call upon
the situation, yes.
to address the situation, in particular Bishop Pat Story.
Yeah.
Contact this woman and ask her why she's silent on this matter.
And the big issue then, of course, is this week and last week, the judges now want to get Enoch out of prison for the holidays. So I did ask the judge last week, I said, should he be in prison or shouldn't he? He has done nothing wrong. You don't let prisoners out for the holidays. And these judges are attempting to wash their hands. You know, you hear of Pontius Pilate. He took a basin when he had condemned Christ to death on Calvary. He took a basin and he washed his hands. That's what Sanfi and all these other judges are trying to do, to wash their hands, to appear very kind and gentle and gracious. The reality is they have ruined 2 years of Enoch Burke's life. They have refused to guard his constitutional rights. They have thrown him into Mountjoy prison with murderers and sexual abusers. You can't wash your hands before a holy God. And that's what we stand for today. We stand for our principles, our beliefs, because that protects us from a totalitarian regime, from dictatorship, where the judges are in cahoots with the guards and the government and the executive, all working together. Enoch has a job. He's employed by Wilson's Hospital School. He was taken from that school unjustly, unfairly. His constitutional rights were denied him. And he has a right to be in that school, to be working in that school. He has a right to have his religious belief and to profess it, to practice it. And he has a right to say no when he's commanded by the principal to affirm and promote transgender ideology. And I'm sorry, judges, I know you have agreed together. You've agreed together with the government and sadly the guards and sadly with the church now. The church is silent. And I would ask you listeners to observe that. Why is the church silent? Because it has agreed together to displace God. It's not possible. It can't be done.
I'm standing here outside the Criminal Courts of Justice in Dublin, and I'm reading a letter that I've sent to the Garda Commissioner, Drew Harris, just this morning. Dear Commissioner Harris, my name is Simeon Burke,